In this Photoshop tutorial, we're gonna learn how to add any design in clothes. We'll do both white and black clothes. The design can be a pattern or any graphics. We'll talk about everything you need to know. So without any further ado, let's jump to Photoshop. I have two examples here. One is with a white dress and the other one is a black one. The process of applying a pattern or a design is a bit different for white and black clothes. So we'll learn both. Also, different designs need to tackle differently. So I have two patterns as well that we're gonna use in this tutorial. First, let's start with the white cloth. The first thing we need to do is to make a selection. If you want a quick selection, then select the object selection tool. At the top, you can find different selection areas. Here I will select the lower clothes and then click apply. The selection is okay but not perfect, so I'll suggest you to use the pen tool for a perfect selection. It will take a bit more time, but it's worth it. Press Ctrl Command and D to deselect the current selection. Now select the pen tool. Let's zoom in and click here and then again click here. We're making a path around the edge of the cloth. If you click and drag without letting the mouse button go, then you can make a curve. Pen tool gives you the best result in this case, so take your time. Sometimes you want to create a corner. For that you can hold Alt Option and move the handle, or just hold Alt Option and left click in the anchor point. Follow the same process for the whole cloth. Once you are done, then go to the Paths tab. You can find the Paths tab in Window, Path. Now double click on the work path and name anything. Path 1 is okay. You just need to put here any name so that the path will be saved. Now let's bring our pattern. For the first example, let's use the dark pattern. You can drag and drop the pattern into the main image. Press Ctrl Command and T for free transform and resize it. But that's not the correct way. It will not look good if I want to cover the whole cloth and place the pattern. The darks are way too big. If you notice a real life pattern, I mean any good pattern, you will see the design fits in the clothes. It's not too big nor is too small. So we need a size that suits to our subject. I've seen many editors make this type of mistakes, so don't be that editor. I choose this pattern because this is a seamless pattern. That means no matter how big or small you make it, you cannot see the edges. You will notice both sides are continuous. That makes a pattern seamless. You can also check a pattern whether it is seamless or not in Photoshop. Let's delete this one and go to the first pattern. To check for a seamless pattern, go to View, Pattern Preview. See, it's a seamless pattern. You can resize it however you want. Now we need to define it as a pattern. That simply means we need to save it as a pattern. Go to Edit and select Define Pattern. Let's call it Duck Pattern. Now hit OK. The pattern is saved. Now go back to our main photo. We need to create a rectangle that covers the whole cloth. Select the rectangle tool. Draw a rectangle here. Make the rectangle a bit bigger so that we have the room to warp it. Now at the top, click the fill and select pattern. Here is the duck pattern that we just saved. Since this is a seamless pattern, so we can change the scale according to our need. For this one, something like this will do. Please note that if you have a design like this or like this, then obviously you don't need to make a pattern. Just place it and follow the same process. Now I need to convert it into a smart object so that we can warp it or add any filters or effects. Okay, now we need to warp it according to the shape of the body. You can reduce the opacity to warp it properly. Press Ctrl Command and T for free transform and go to warp. Now warp it as close as possible to the body shape. Once you are done, click the check mark at the top. There's one more thing you can do to warp it. Although it's not necessary after applying the warp, but I wanna show you. You might need in other cases. With the pattern layer selected, go to Filter, Liquify. I need to see the person. Here check Show Backdrop. Select the backdrop from Use. From Mode, select Behind, so the backdrop is below the pattern layer. Now lower the opacity and with the forward warp tool, slowly push it to match it with the body. I won't do too much since we already warped it earlier. Hit OK when you're done. Now we need to load the selection to mask it. We already created the path earlier. Click on the path 1. Now with the pen tool selected, right click and select Make Selection. You can add some feather here or you can change the feather from the mask properties. For now I'll just put here 0.5. Now you can see the selection is active. Click the mask icon to create a layer mask. To blend it to any clothes, we generally do two things. One is changing the blend modes and the other one is blend diff from layer style. But in this photo none of them will work properly. If I change the blend mode to multiply, multiply is a blend mode which darken, but since we have a very bright cloth, so this one doesn't really work. The other blend modes will not work either. Next, the blend if. Double click on the layer to open layer style dialog box. Now move the right slider to the left. It will take away the pixels of the current layer from the brighter pixels of the underlying layer, but that doesn't really work. I choose this photo on purpose because I want to show you different tricks, but in most cases these two methods will work. We'll see that in the next example. Let's cancel it. I'll keep the blend mode to multiply since it's a bit better than the normal blend mode. You see the pattern looks very flat, so we need to fix that. Since the blend mode and the blend diff failed, so the only solution is to do it manually by adding shadows and highlights. Let's create a levels adjustment layer. I will make it darker for the shadows, but right now it affects the whole photo. So you can click this icon to clip it. It means the levels adjustment layer will only affect the layers below it. Another thing you can do is to group them and use the mask in the group. Select these two layers and press Ctrl Command and G to group them. Now drag and drop the layer mask in the group. Now let's make the pattern darker by moving the top slider to the right. But the problem is it's also affecting the color. We don't want that. We want it only affect the luminosity. So change the blend mode for the levels adjustment layer to luminosity. Now no matter how much you make it darker, it will only affect the brightness level. Now press Ctrl Command and I to invert the mask. Select the brush tool and with the lower flow, slowly paint the shadows. We are giving it a depth just like it should be in the real life. See, it makes a big difference. We added the shadows but still it looks flat and no one likes flat. So we need to add the highlights as well. Now create a curves adjustment layer. We can also go with levels. Now drag it up to make it brighter. Don't forget to change the blend mode to luminosity. Invert the mask by pressing Ctrl Command and I and paint the highlights with the brush tool. Don't do too much, just keep it subtle for a natural look. Okay, great. We are done with the shadows and highlights. Still it doesn't look so real. If I zoom in, you will notice it is way too sharp. Also there is no noise or texture, so we need to add them. Select the pattern layer and go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Try to match it with the other areas. Around 3% will do. Next we need to add some blur. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. 1 pixel will work here. One more thing we can add is the fabric texture. This isn't necessary, but I will add it. Note that when the blend diff works, you don't need to add any extra texture. I'll show you that in the next example. I have this fabric texture here. Let's bring it to Photoshop. I'll place the texture outside of the group for now to see it. Press Ctrl Command and D for free transform and resize it. This is just a white grayish texture. Like before, we need to warp it. Press Ctrl Command and D for free transform and select warp. Do the same thing again like we did for the pattern. You don't need to be very accurate for this one. Okay, now we need to add only the texture. We need to extract it. This one doesn't have any color, so we don't need to desaturate it. We never want the added texture to affect the colors of the main photo. Anyway, go to Filter, Other, High Pass. Set a radius where you can slightly see the textures. For this one, around 2 pixels will work. Now change the blend mode to Overlay or Soft Light. Now you can see the fabric textures, but it's a bit too sharp, so we need to add some blur to it. And if you want, you can reduce the opacity. It should be very subtle. Don't forget to place the texture inside the group. This is optional. You can create a levels adjustment layer below the pattern layer. This way we can easily control the brightness or the shadows. And finally, don't forget to name the group. This is optional though. So this was our first example. Now let's go to the next one. This one is a black cloth, totally opposite from the last one. Spoiler alert, this one is a lot easier. We'll be using this pattern for our second example. This is a seamless pattern as well. Like before, we will save it as a pattern. Go to Edit and then Define Pattern. Let's call it Flower Pattern. Now go to the main photo. Select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle here. Now select the new flower pattern. Change the scale to fit it. Something like this will work. Then convert it into a smart object. We can warp it or use the liquify, but that might not be necessary here. We'll see that in a moment. Turn this off for now. We need to make a selection of the cloth. For this one, I will quickly select it to save some time. Select the object selection tool and just click the t-shirt. Photoshop will automatically select it. Now turn on the flower pattern layer and click the mask icon. For this one, changing blend mode will not work at all. If I change it to multiply, then you can hardly see it because the pattern is bright. You can try other blend modes, but none of them will work. So we can do one more thing, which is the blend if. Double click on the layer to open layer style dialog box. Now move the left slider to the right from the underlying layer. It will take away the pixels of the current layer from the darker parts of the layers below it. We can hold Alt or Option to break the slider for a smoother transition. Now you see it looks so much better. You didn't even need to warp it since it's taking the textures from the actual fabric. But if you want, you can use the warp or the liquify. It's a bit too sharp, so we need to add some blur to it. 1.5 will do. No need to add some noise here since we can see the fabric textures. One more thing you can do is to add some shadows. The bottom areas should have some shadows. Create a curves adjustment layer and drag it down to make it darker. Click this icon to clip it. I will also make the bright areas darker by dragging this point downward. Press Ctrl Command and I to invert it. Now with the brush tool, slowly paint the shadows here. This looks much better now. Finally, you can group it. The Layer tab looks cleaner this way. So this was our second example. You might be thinking, I can just double click in the smart object and place a new design and everything will be done. But that doesn't always work. Let's double click in the smart object to go inside. I'll place this new design. Make it bigger to cover the whole canvas. Now press Ctrl Command and S to save it. Now go back to the main image. You see it kinda works. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So you need to tackle every photo differently. That's why I showed you different techniques. Before you go, I have a homework for you. You need to place this design in this t-shirt realistically. Use all the techniques that I showed you in this tutorial. You can download all the tutorial and the homework files. Check the links in the description. If you get stuck, then you can ask me in the comment section. This is all for today. Hope you learned something new from this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more tutorials. Thanks for watching.